So the criminal law section of the 2021 paper, we're asked, are we called to define the term insanity used in criminal law? Would anybody tell me what insanity means? What does insanity mean? Or define the term insanity rather, as used in criminal law. All right, so insanity. No. Insanity speaks to a defense that is commonly used within criminal law, right? That depends on whether or not a person has a disease of mind, a defect of reason, or some amount of uncontrollable impulse. We're speaking about these things that result to insanity being used, right, as a term generally and as a defense in criminal law. It's a defense at criminal law, right, that stems from the defendant, sub actually satisfying some concepts from the Norton rules, which is a disease of mind, defect of reason, or uncontrollable impulses. Distinguish the concept of distinguish between the concept of self-defense and automatism, right? We know what automatism is, and we know what self-defense is. So self-defense speaks the defense of oneself, family, property, right, or in the event of preventing another crime, right? Using reasonable force when put in said situation by a state of affairs, right? While automatism speaks to the uncontrollable movement of the muscles or impulses that come from either external situations or some amount of internal issues, right? So you're supposed to be basically be distinguishing between the both, right? And distinguish the fact that automatism, right? Insane automatism. Well, is it insane? Insane automatism tends to act as if it is a full defense, right? While non-insane is not a full defense. While we look at the fact that self-defense overall is completely a full defense, there are many ways in which we could distinguish between self-defense and automatism. Self-defense is on your own volition. Automatism is not. Speak about these things. Alright? You guys should be able to get the 8 marks there. Right? At birth, okay, I think this question is a point of much contention because after the law exam, I went into a Google meeting with a group of persons who did the exam the same day, and we fought. Families were broken up, friendships were destroyed over this question, right? But let's talk about it. At birth, Kato was diagnosed with organic brain depletion, right? Diagnosed with organic brain depletion, right? A recognized medical condition which retarded his development, right? So looking at that, so retarded his development. His medical condition sometimes impairs his ability to think clearly, right? At such times, he usually experiences an uncontrollable and violent temper. Hopefully, we're seeing this, Hopefully, we're seeing this, and is unable to comprehend what he is doing. Right? Honestly, as I'm going through this question, I have feelings behind it. Because we have entire discussions and arguments about this. Right? One morning, while in a coffee shop, Kato experiences one of these episodes. So he's experiencing the episode. Right? He began shouting at Plato, accusing him, right, of occupying his favorite seat, and also threatens to shoot him. He then goes into a fit of rage and strikes Plato. Plato falls, hits his head on the floor, and dies. Plato always falling and dying. I don't know why. But Kato is now charged for murder. As a defense attorney advised Kato, right, as the most to the most suitable defense available to him. Use two decided cases to support your answer. No, I want you guys to think clearly before you answer this question. Right? As I said, friendships were destroyed over this question. Some people I don't talk to till this day because of this question. Right? But let's look at this. What do you think is the most suitable defense to use in this case for Kato? Let's see if the issue arises again. The mistress. It's that is the issue. Is it the mistress responsibility or insanity? That was a major issue, because I was saying, okay, I'm not gonna use the person's name because they are currently in law school. One person A was saying that it's insanity, and the other person was saying that it is Dimitri's responsibility. And can I tell you this discussion went on for hours about which one was the best, right? I'm not going to say which one I chose. I chose none of them. I said that I'm gonna argue both. I actually argued both in the question on the paper, right? So I put in the issue, the reasons, right? So we're looking at the fact that he has his mental condition, right? So he has a disease of the mind that can be insanity or diminished responsibility. Hopefully following. And the disease of mind led to a defect of reason, right? That allows uncontrollable impulses, right? The reason why I shift, right? I explained both, but I shifted towards insanity is because these are the three proponents of the Manhattan rules. These are the three proponents of the Manhattan rules. Disease of the mind, right? Leading to a defect of reason and uncontrollable impulse. This is classic insanity. But some persons say no. Diminish responsibility, right? And then use case and then fight me out, right? But I don't know, right? The thing is now what you're supposed to do is discuss whether or not, right, it should be. See, it matches RB Brian. That was the case. RB Brian was the end of me. I envy that case, right? Because the thing is that is what was used to prove that this would be diminished responsibility over insanity, right? So we could look at those type of things. What constitutes insanity here? Because the thing is not, even though, right, it fits perfectly with the diminished responsibility case of RV Brian, right? It matches perfectly with the Manhattan rules, right? And what I used was the Manhattan case of 1843, where the Manhattan rules stem from. But yes, I understand that the abnormality of mind, which gives rise from that birth defect or inherent induced by disease or injury, that does come from that is under diminished responsibility. But isn't disease of the mind and defect of reason a part of the Manhattan rules as well? So that's the thing, that is what I was trying to figure out. For example, you could use RV Kemper, you could use RV Sullivan, I could use RV Clark. I would list cases discussing whether or not this is true. That's why you're asking what's the difference? What's the difference between insanity and diminished responsibility? Anyone? What's the major difference between them? The thing about diminished responsibility, the purpose of diminished responsibility, right, is generally to fix all the loopholes that exist within the Manhattan rules, right? Diminished responsibility provides that it's a defense, right? It's a defense of duty, right? So the key points, right, what we're looking at now, you must have abnormality of the mind that is set out in RV Brian, right? And also assisted by Walton VR. So there must be abnormality of the mind, right? So what happened in Brian VR? The definition of abnormality of the mind was given in the R, right? And let's hear what Lord Parker, CJ, said, right? He said abnormality of the mind, which has to be contrasted with the time-honored expression in the Manhattan rules, defect of reason, means a state of mind so different from the ordinary human beings that the reasonable man would determine it abnormal. So the thing that the Chief Justice used to define abnormality of the mind was the monotony rules. That's why I was saying that this seems like insanity more so than diminished responsibility, right? And abnormality of the mind is the main proponent of diminished responsibility, right? Let's look at what it is. Or look at the Homicide Act in 1957. It describes now, right, diminished responsibility as an abnormality of the mind, right? Where a person kills or is party to killing of another, he should not be convicted of murder if he is suffering from such abnormality of the mind arising from a condition of arrested or retarded development, right? And we did state in the question that there was retardation, so this is in support of diminished responsibility, right, of the mind, and inherent causes induced by disease or industry. He has a brain disease, right? So, as subsequently impaired his mental responsibility for his acts and omissions in doing or being a party to the killing. So, it fits perfectly to the diminished responsibility. But how does it fit to insanity? Is he insane? This is how we take out, we separate the big fish from the sprats. These are the real questions that tell us whether or not you know anything about the law or you don't know. You see them type of question here needs to occur upon every law paper. It let us know who knows what they're talking about and who don't know what they're talking about. Alright? So my resolve, right, was insanity in this discussion, right? But what I did not tell the people who I was arguing with was that I put diminished responsibility. Right? So remember, what I did here, I discussed the issue. I used two cases. I used R.V. Bryan, right? And I used R.V. Kempt. And I argued both for insanity and for diminished responsibility. And at the end, right, in the conclusion, I gave diminished responsibility the edge because it perfectly matches R.V. Bryan. But the monotony rules were present, therefore I argued both for insanity and diminished responsibility, and in my conclusion, I chose what I deemed to be the most suitable defense. So I argued two defenses and provided the most suitable of the two, to allow the person marking the paper to know that we do have a knowledge of what is happening here. We know how to pick apart the case, and we know the two defenses offered to him, and then giving the person a reason now, the marker a reason why I chose the diminished responsibility in the end. Alright? This is how you must argue the questions. As I said, this is a real question. Right? As one of my math lecturers, Dr. Morgan would say, this is a real McCoy. This is a question that separates the pitney them from the adults, the girls from the women, the boys from the men. These type of questions do it, right? So you must provide, right, him with a suitable defense as a defense attorney. I rack it out. That is the way to go.